Thank you for joining me today. I hope you all have had a fantastic week. My name is Elsie, the garden elf, and I have a couple fun things to share, and I was so excited to hear that the library, their focus this year, this summer, was fairy tales, so I had to come and read some of my favorites. But first, let's get the mood set. So I wanted to show you a couple fun things to do with stuff that you may have at home. And this is a lava lamp, and if it doesn't work out, please don't come to my garden knocking because I've never done it before. So I have a cup of vegetable oil, any vegetable oil. We're gonna pour a little bit of water in there. And of course it's gonna go to the bottom because it's it's dense, it's more dense than oil. Then I got these Alka-Seltzer tabs. Oh wait, we gotta put color in. Let's do blue, huh? Couple drops of that. Perfect. Well, maybe some more. All right, and we're gonna put the Alka-Seltzer tab in there and see what happens. There it goes, it's working. So this is our little lava lamp. And what's happening is the Alka-Seltzer is creating carbon dioxide and it's floating to the top. How fun is that? So you can do this at home. All you need is oil, water, and an Alka-Seltzer tab. I found mine under my sink and they're from like 2007 and they're still working. So hey, it all helps. All right, the first story I'm gonna read is The Elves Help Puss in Boots. And I believe the Elves story is a Grimm story tale, which is one of my favorite brothers, my sets of brothers. Okay, once upon a time, there was a cat named Puss in Boots. His master Jack fell in love with a princess. Puss defeated an ogre so Jack could have the ogre's castle. Then Jack married the princess. Everyone was happy except Puss. His wonderful boots were worn out. They needed to be fixed. Does anyone have a flip-flop blow this summer? My Birkenstocks blew last week. I was not happy. Puss went to the cobbler in the nearest town. "Can you fix my wonderful boots?" he asked. "They are wonderful boots, but I'm afraid I can't fix them," the cobbler replied. "They are too small and fine for my hands." Puss went to the next town and the next, but the cobblers always told him the same thing. Finally, one cobbler said, "Boots that wonderful must have been made by fairy folk. I hear there's a shoemaker in the next town who has elves working for them." Puss ran to the town as fast as his legs would carry him. When he arrived, he stopped in front of the shoemaker's shop. He couldn't believe how lovely the shoes in the window were. He walked inside and showed his boots to the shoemaker. "Ah, fairy boots," he said. "Yes, I can fix them. Come back tonight and you can watch." That night, Puss returned to the shoemaker's shop. Puss and the shoemaker hid in a closet so the elves wouldn't see them. They peeked through the gap in the door and waited. As the clock struck midnight, two elves appeared dressed in rags. Puss watched as the elves worked. In no time at all, the boots were fixed. Then the elves disappeared into the night. The boots looked as good as new, better even. Puss was overjoyed, but the shoemaker was not. "What's the matter?" asked Puss. "I want to reward the elves," said the shoemaker, "but they have no use for money. I thought I'd make them new clothes instead, but I can't find a thread that is strong yet fine enough to use." It was true. The elves deserved something for all their hard work. Puss thought long and hard. Where could they find thread that would do the job? He scratched his whiskers. That was it. His whiskers would work perfectly. Puss plucked out a couple of whiskers and gave them to the shoemaker. The shoemaker went to work right away. That night, they set out the new clothes for the elves. Then they both waited for the clock to strike midnight. When the elves saw the clothes, they jumped around the room with joy. Puss had saved the day. And that's the end. So that's a fun story. The next one I'm going to read to you is one of my favorites. It's about the 3 blind mice, and they team up with the 3 little pigs. Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs. They all lived happily in their own homes until the big bad wolf arrived. The big bad wolf wanted to eat the pigs. He huffed and he puffed and he blew down 2 of the homes. The 3 pigs decided to move into one home together. The house was very nice, but it had been built for 1 pig. There just wasn't enough space in the home. To make matters worse, the big bad wolf was still around. He was still hungry for the pigs. The pigs wanted to leave their small home, but it was too dangerous to leave. The big bad wolf would eat them. What's more, the pigs were running out of food. That's not good. On the other side of the forest, 3 blind mice lived in a farmhouse. The house was lovely and warm. The mice had plenty of food, but the house was too big for mice who couldn't find their way around. To make matters worse, the house was owned by Mrs. Farmer. She did not like the 3 blind mice. She would chase the mice up and down and all around and try and chop off their tails. One day, Mrs. Farmer chased the mice out of their house. Out in the woods, they bumped into the 3 pigs. The pigs had sneaked out of the house to find food. The mice and the pigs told each other their sad stories. "I think I have a plan," said one of the pigs. As part of the plan, the mice dressed up like the little pigs and went to the pigs' home. Later that day, the wolf climbed down the chimney. He couldn't believe what he saw. "Pah," he said, "the pigs have shrunk away to nothing. They would not even be a good snack anymore." And off he stomped. As part of the plan, the pigs dressed up like mice and went to their farmhouse. When Mrs. Farmer saw them, she nearly lost her bloomers. In shock, bloomers are another word for underwear. "Mice as big as pigs," she cried, and off she ran, never to return. So the 3 blind mice lived in the pigs' home. It was small and cozy. They would easily find their way around. The 3 little pigs lived in the farmhouse, which had plenty of room, and they all lived happily ever after. So there's the end of this one. Now the next thing I'm going to do you have to use milk, and it has to be whole milk. So I had to make a special run to the Elf store this morning to buy whole milk because we don't have that in my house. You also need Dawn dish soap. I don't know if it really matters. We have Dawn at my house. It's the blue stuff. I'm not endorsing anybody. Now, you just put a bunch of food coloring, which we used for our last experiment, into this little saucer with the whole milk. So I got purple. I've got green. I'm making my cameraman work. I've got this is pink. Sorry. I think the heat is starting to get to Elsie. It's just been too hot. Got some blue. I'm going to put one more dab of purple because that is my favorite color. Right in the center. Okay. So next, I'm going to take a Q-tip. I'm going to put it in this dish soap. Get it all covered. And then you put it, whoa, kind of dropped in there. Might need to get some more. You put it in the milk and it pushes away. It's supposed to push away the color. Is that fun? So that's another thing you can do at home. That's fun if you've got the material. There's that. I'm just excited that I'm not making a giant mess. Okay, let's see if we pop let's add some more colors to this guy. Well, Shelby gets the camera set up for the next couple books. I think you can keep adding if you want. Maybe not. Oh, there it goes. Our lava lamp is going again. All right. Now that we got the mood set, let's continue. Red Riding Hood meets the three bears. Another Grimm Brothers story, my favorite. One sunny morning, Little Red Riding Hood packed up a basket of cupcakes and left to visit her grandma. Cupcakes. Stay on the path and don't go off into the woods, her mom warned. The big bad wolf lives there. I will, said Little Red Riding Hood. But the path was overgrown, and soon Little Red Riding Hood was lost. She didn't notice Goldilocks walking in the other direction. The big bad wolf was happy. 2 little girls lost in the woods, he muttered with a sly grin. More food for me. Then he went after Goldilocks. I wonder if it's the same wolf from the other story. Little Red Riding Hood finally arrived at a small cottage. Oh, she gasped. That's strange. I thought Grandma lived in a blue house. Maybe she painted it. The door was open. Little Red Riding Hood went inside. Grandma, she called, where are you? 3 bowls of porridge, said Little Red Riding Hood. What a big breakfast you have, Grandma. Little Red Riding Hood cleaned up and put away the bowls of porridge. Then she got out her cupcakes and put them on the plate. I think Little Red Riding Hood could come to my house any day. Grandma, she called, where are you? Little Red Riding Hood went to look in the living room. What big chairs you have, Grandma, she said. It was strange. Grandma had painted the house and brought 3 new chairs. Little Red Riding Hood looked all around for Grandma. Grandma, she called, where are you? Then Little Red Riding Hood went upstairs to see if Grandma was taking a nap. She opened the door and looked inside the bedroom. She saw 3 new beds. My, what a loud snore you have, Grandma, said Little Red Riding Hood. She turned on the light and shouted, wake up! The 3 bears woke up. Little Red Riding Hood screamed and ran downstairs. The 3 bears ran after her. Don't be scared, called Mother Bear. Cupcakes, said Baby Bear when she saw the plate on the table. They are for my grandma, said Little Red Riding Hood. You've come to the wrong house, said Father Bear. The 3 little bears took Little Red Riding Hood through the woods to her grandma's house. Oh, they're so nice. But when they arrived, Little Red Riding Hood gasped. Oh no, the big bad wolf was about to eat Grandma and Goldilocks. Just then, the 3 bears gave a great big roar. The big bad wolf screamed and ran away. Well, said Grandma, that was a strange day. At least we still have the cupcakes, said Little Red Riding Hood. Then let's finish the day with a tea party, said Grandma. And that's just what they did. It's kind of fun how they work together on that one. All right, the last story I'm going to read for you is The Frog Prince Saves Sleeping Beauty. And I believe The Frog Prince is another Grimm fairy tale. And I like Grimm Brothers because they created elves. They made me. Okay. Once upon a time, a princess was born in a faraway land. The king and queen were so happy. Let's have a party, said the king. Yes, said the queen. We will invite 3 fairy godmothers. The day of the party arrived. The fairy godmothers brought their magic wands. Shazam! A sparkly tricycle appeared. Shazam! There was a shiny ball. But just as the 3rd fairy godmother waved her wand, the doors flew open. What's happening? Cried the king. A wicked fairy flew into the room. You didn't invite me, she cackled. Everyone shivered with fear. My present for the princess is a curse, said the wicked fairy. If the princess pricks her finger before she is 10 years old, she will die. Shazam! Everyone gasped. The wicked fairy vanished. Help us, please, the king and queen begged the fairy godmothers. I can't stop the curse, said the 3rd fairy godmother, but I can change it. If the princess pricks her finger, she will not die. She will just sleep until she is kissed by a prince. After that, the king and queen kept the princess away from pins and needles. Play outside, they told her. There are no pins in the garden. The princess loved studying the flowers and birds. She loved watching the bees and butterflies. One day, just before she turned 10 years old, the princess found a frog. He looked so sweet. The princess took the frog back to the palace and put him in a tank. The frog thought she was very kind. The princess drew a picture of the frog, but just as she was pinning it on the wall, the princess pricked her finger and fell asleep. The fairy godmother saw everyone in the palace was upset. They put them all to sleep too. If only a prince would come back and kiss her, they sighed. With everyone in the palace asleep, the frog was the only one left awake. The frog saw that this was his chance. It was time for him to be a hero. The frog hopped out of the tank and over to the princess's bed. Then he gave her a big, wet kiss. When the princess woke up, the frog turned into a prince. The wicked fairy turned me into a frog, he said. The spell could only be broken if I kissed a princess. Thanks for saving me, said the princess. The fairy godmother shouted for joy and woke up everyone in the palace. The princess and the prince became best friends. Together they looked after the animals in the palace garden. And that's our last fairy tale mix-up for you today. We hope you have an excellent weekend. Thank you.